Hello, nice to see you. Nice to see you. Hi, yeah, you can say hello.
Hi, girl.
It's nice to see so many familiar faces. It's been a little while since we were back at the Hoxton. Yeah, it always feels lovely coming back here. Thank you to the team for everything that you do to make us feel welcome. And yeah, it's been a summer, hasn't it? I mean, how's everyone's summer been? Yeah, I know. If it's not free drinks that bring people in, it's the promise of air conditioning, at least. My name's Michael. I've never met you before. I use he, they pronouns. I'm from the UK. You probably hear that. Lived in Barcelona a year now, actually. And August was actually the first time that we hosted our first event in the city. And I remember I thought about 20 people might come, and I think we had about 75 people. And I was just kind of blown away by the people that I met, but also kind of the passion that people had really to come and to learn and to meet others that kind of also on this mission to drive change, whether it's in your business or your communities. A little bit about We Create Space, if you don't know. We are a community-led organization. We are on a mission to improve the lives of LGBTQ plus people around the world. And the way that we do that, we are a diversity and inclusion consultancy on one part. So we work with over 100 different businesses, providing training and consultancy all around LGBTQ plus inclusion in the workplace. And the profits that we make from doing that work, we invest back into the community through free events, resources, and support groups. Events just like this that you're attending. So thank you for being here, but also for also validating that this is something worthwhile, that the community really kind of respects and looks forward to. Tonight we are joined by some wonderful speakers, as always. And the topic tonight really is one that's it's always quite close to my heart, but yeah, this topic's about kind of queering your career, and sometimes the different paths that we go on, the different journeys. So, whether that's kind of moving across the world and kind of having to start afresh, or whether it's kind of engaging with your own values and your own passions and starting, a new career in a different industry completely, or just being more visible, in your job or advocating for inclusion. So I'm going to hand over to Sanjukta, who is going to be facilitating.
Thanks, Michael. And hi, everyone. Is mic working now? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. My name is Sanjukta. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from South India, and I'm part of the We Create Space. I do DEI work, and I also do monitoring and evaluation for the nonprofit sector. I'm a consultant. And we have an incredible panel today, all of them from diverse backgrounds with different experiences and perspectives, and I'm super excited to get into some really meaty topics. I do have my notes, so just to let you know, I have, questions that I might look to, but the rest of it, we have a little bit of audience engagement as well. And so before we do intros, I just want to check how everyone's doing. You're all good, you're fed, watered, wined, etc. Okay, terrific. So I'll hand over, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
My name is Kevin Hawkins. Let's just go with my actual thing. I am a Liberian American who was living in the Netherlands for the past several years. I've been here for about 2 years. I work as a product designer, was previously in charge of design and research at Glovo until very recently when I left. I was the events director for Washington, D.C. Pride for a couple years. I do lots of random things, like Michael knows. I do interior design, I design apps, I lose my passport in several places, as I found out recently. And then other times I come and speak at cool events like this. So, on to you.
Hello, hello.
We'll just pass the mic along.
Okay. Hey everyone. Hi, good evening. Well, I'm excited to be here. This is my first time being here. First of all, I want to say thank you to Michael and We Create Space to, having me and everybody else. Hi, my name is Jane. I am graphic design as well with Kevin. But yes, I'm from Thailand, born and bred from Thailand, and the beautiful country, most of the beautiful country in Southeast Asia, but also we part of, like a most beautiful island also, and most beautiful transgender people, girl, yes. Most beautiful transgender in Asia, I would say that, and yeah. And I've been living in Barcelona since 2012, and I think my purpose here just to finding love, but in the end, it doesn't work out. So I continue my life just to be here, just enjoy the beach and the sun and the nude. That's my favorite beach, and yeah, that's it. Have you done?
Hi everybody, I'm Gonzalo Parra. My pronouns are he, him, but you can call me whatever, I don't really care. I am a scientist. I am from Argentina. I studied bioinformatics in a very small university in Argentina. And then I did my PhD in Buenos Aires. And then 7 years ago, I moved to work in Germany. I worked in the Max Planck Institute for Physical Chemistry and in the European Molecular Laboratory. And then after a while, I came out in Germany. So when I was around 30 years old, I lived as a straight person for a long, long time. And then when I came out, I started to feel like very suffocated in Germany because I lived in very small towns, academic towns. And I felt that, my career was not anymore the most important thing in my life. And then there was this paradise called Barcelona. So I decided to move here. I found a job, and here I am today, 2 years after.
Thanks, everyone. So before we get into the actual discussion, we have a little bit of audience participation. So as Michael said, we're talking about queering your career. So before we begin, as you can see, we all come from different parts and we've all come to Barcelona in different ways. So how many of you guys, show of hands, are from out of town, outside Barcelona? Outside Spain? Outside Europe? Ooh, how cool. Neat. Okay, that's awesome. So we have a lot in common already, so that's going to be great. And so any questions that you have for, the way we've settled in here, how we make community, all that. And we have, of course, we have 3 different people that come from different careers and different backgrounds. I mean, Kevin has I think 1,000 career changes, right? Vaguely. So how many of you guys have had big career changes in your life and done different things? Kevin? Awesome, great. Great to hear. So first question to all of you is, what does community mean to you, and what is your relationship to it, and how have you built that community here in Barcelona, and what does it mean to you here? Maybe if it's different to how it was in the previous places you've lived. Just use the good mic.
All right. Community means a lot to me. So my voice might shake when I say this, but it's totally fine. So my dad's in the military. So we moved about every 18 months. So I went to 2 middle schools, 3 high schools, 2 universities. Never had, until very recently, friends more than the 8-year-long because I moved so quickly. And then I just kind of recreated that same life when I got into the career that I have now. And so for a very long time, my friends were my family. So if I want to see my mom, I go to the Philippines. If I want to see my brother, I go to LA. If I want to see my dad, I go to Miami. So it's very hard to have family. So community is everything to me. It's the biggest part of my life that I get to keep, wherever I go.
Hello, just check again. Just want to make sure. Well, the community to me is a place where I feel safe the most, and I feel like without community, I cannot be here. Especially when I had to shout out to my friend Paul here. He dragged me get out from the house and enjoy, Barcelona. And then, he introduced me to We Create Space. And for me, community is very important for us, sister and brother, because it's a place there where we can create dreams and possibility and also the voice, and we value to each other. I think this is the place for us. That's why we are here every single week, and just try to be ourselves and not be afraid of being something else, because out there in the world is so crucial. We just remember that we are here together.
Well, this was a question I had to think about quite a bit. So community, well, etymologically, is what do we have in common? What do we share? So I think we share values, we share objectives, but also, unluckily, and that's the reason we're here, we share an enemy, which is patriarchy, white, cis, rich, all these things. So we are here together to kind of try to deconstruct it and to support each other and to take the fights from many others, like Stonewall Inn and many other things in history, and to take them further. So for me, it's a space where it's fine, we have fun, we can get friends, and we can discuss about love, about things, but it's also about to build together a better future and a better present for us and a better future for others. So I think that's community for me.
I definitely resonate with that. I think that's a huge part of it, right? Is that what are we building together? Who is not part of this community, and why can't we? It's very important. Okay, my next question is for Gonzalo, and it's actually, if you read Gonzalo's bio, there are like 3 words you'll understand. One of them is he, and the second one is. So there's a lot that you do with your work, and I wanted to get into what does intersectionality mean for you? And for those of you who don't know, intersectionality is basically a way in which we define kind of double discriminations, or your different layers of identity that are often, or they don't always have to be, but they are often marginalized identities. So for myself, I'm a brown woman who's queer. 3 terrific things to be in this world. So what role does intersectionality play for you when it comes to access in academia, and what does that mean, access, and who's in the in group and who's in the out group? And how does that affect your personal experiences in those supposedly professional spaces?
Yeah, so it's very multidimensional because it's true. I mean, for me, intersectionality comes from, there are different ways of being privileged and by counterpart being unprivileged, and different dimensions in which, you are a woman or a man, you are gay or straight or lesbian or whatever. So I was thrown into this world without asking, nobody asked me for my permission, but I was born, and then I started to realize I was not really on the top of the chain. I am brown also. Argentina is a very European country, very white. I'm brown. I'm not from Buenos Aires, so I'm from a province. Then I came to Europe, and when I go to conferences, it's the moment where I really feel this intersectionality, because first thing you see is that I'm not European, not North American. Then I am not a native English speaker. So I come from a very small university. So when I was doing my PhD and going to conferences, my label says Gonzalo Parra, Buenos Aires University. Nobody would talk to me, very little people, because what you assume is, what does a person coming from Argentina have to say? There's no good science there or whatever. And then when I moved to Germany, actually, this changed in 1 year. I suddenly went to conferences having my label from Max Planck Institute, and suddenly everybody wanted to talk to me. I was the same person, Or in science, intersectionality is very interesting because it's all inherited from aristocracy, from nobility. So you have these Cambridge, Oxford, MIT dominated fields by rich, cis, white male. So of course, in many dimensions, the only thing I have maybe there is like I'm a man. After that, and then after coming out, it became even more complex, because what it is expected from a scientist to be respectable and serious is to have a family, for example. I don't want to have a family. And I am not, I start using words like my partner instead of my girlfriend, because I did have a girlfriend in the past. So intersectionality is just in how many dimensions you are different and how you have to fight to those small discriminations every day, and that makes it a bit hard sometimes.
I kind of want to dwell on that a little. It's not dwell on that, but sit with that a little bit and just what maybe if the others have some reflections on, you know, being in the inside space versus the outside space. Because what you say is so true. Like you're the same person when you're in the like Buenos Aires University versus the one in Germany. Then why does that suddenly give you legitimacy or make people want to talk to you, whereas it does many other ways? So we have time a little bit. I think just maybe one quick story. Yeah, someone wants to.
Okay. Back in the day in Thailand, because we believe in that in Thai society we are being like accepted as a trans woman, or LGBT community, and then the trans woman who look beautiful, whiter skin, lighter skin, can able to achieve to workplace. You can get like a free pass, like a fast track to a workplace. But then if you are darker skin and then you're poor, you just can't be in this workspace. Then the society have suppressed us to be another type of occupations. And then I feel sad about it because I feel like heartbroken when I say like, okay, I born from this country, and then why the government or people who involved is not pushing, all occupation to be equally, and then value for this person, in this occupation, But when I look back and then I moved here, then everything sudden like opened my eyes, and the way the perspective I seen more freedom, more of opportunities and acceptance, in terms of like workspace, of course, but it's not like fully 100% because my experience from, when I moved here like 10 years ago, I was modeling, I was actress in Asia, being an Asian woman, as a woman, but I don't proudly like, I'm a trans woman actress and model. So I have to live like secretly hidden, like my identity. I cannot say to my client, I went to casting like 50 and 50 casting, and then turns out I cannot like fully acting like, oh yeah, I'm a trans woman model, and then I might get kicked out or something. And then the story was like, I got exposed when I went back to Thailand, back 2015 with another agency in Bangkok. And then they have trans division in Bangkok. And then I felt like, yes, I'm in the right place, But then they were coordinate to each other. And I say, hey, yeah, thank you for sending our girl to Bangkok. Oh yeah, but in trans division. And then that day I got like complaint, I got denied from client, also the agency, like, okay, you can't be here. I'm sorry, you're lying to me, So that time I felt like, yeah, it's time for me just to coming out and then being the person who I am today, and I just like so grateful, just being me, and I think in the future, I don't think there's nothing to stop me to say, yeah, this is the person who I am.
So thank you so much. I think, yeah, I kind of want to just leave that in silence, just let that sink in a little bit, just kind of the fights and the struggles that you don't even expect to have to encounter on a daily basis. I'm just going to give myself a couple seconds. It's very useful. Otherwise, I'll just keep it out here. Just keep talking and it'll be fine. Okay, so actually, okay, Kevin, my next question is for you. And as you know, I have like 1,000 questions for Kevin. So I'm just going to read them all out, and you have to answer them perfectly. Okay, so, you ready? Ready. You got this? Okay. All right. What are some of the common barriers to LGBTQ plus inclusion at work? Very easy question, right? And how can we as change makers challenge our organizations and leaders to proactively address them? and this is the one I'm really psyched about. This is my question. If our organizations and leaders can't or won't, tell us about how you have used your community organizing and leadership skills to do so yourself.
Yeah, this is going to be helpful now. Yeah. Okay, great. The first one. So the first one, the easiest one.
The easy one.
Inclusion at work. So for context, I've been the ERG, or the Employee Resource Group chair, for Colors of Unicorns at Glovo, for the Pride, Be Proud at Booking.com, at Gap as well. So I do a lot of workplace inclusion activities. Sometimes it's just organizing community events for the actual audience inside the company. Other times it's sponsoring Pride, getting a boat, whatever it takes to be present in public about it. We actually launched a Pride flag filter at Booking.com, so you could find proud, supportive hotels to stay in. And so sometimes it has an outward approach. So inclusion at work oftentimes has to do with reminding people that there is other factors involved in business decisions that are not just economics or not just PR. I like to also quantify inclusion. So I say, oh, did you know? And then it always goes to money, of course. But so when you have good stats, you can say, hey, we spend the most money in this category, we spend a significant amount of the money in this category, we have our girlfriends, we influence money in this category. Businesses remember to speak up or listen. Then in the other way, you say, hey, you seem to forget that the talent that you want to attract tends to be more diverse. If you want the best engineers, the best designers, the best marketers, the best writers, maybe you can't run an organization that is known for having no opinion or having a negative opinion towards gay people. That's in there for that question.
Yeah.
I think that does majority of the work. And then the top 2% of the work that almost never gets done is when I run into a room and I'm saying, shut up. You're about to do something that's super, super bad for the community. It's going to hurt people. No one in the entire process was gay or LGBTQ at all. And this just slid all the way through to the completion rate. And I'm going to be the one person who tells you it's bad and we're not going to do it. And I wish that work happened more. That's the role ERGs wish to play more often, but rarely get to. So, yeah. Let's keep going.
Keep going, keep going.
Okay, one more. Was it your question,
Yeah,
right?
my question.
Okay. You told yourself this was going to be like a brunch. We're just going to have a little
Yeah,
chat.
we're
here.
just hanging out. You guys don't exist.
Okay, yeah, so.
How do you work when it doesn't work?
Now, I made it sound all rosy, right? So a lot of companies don't do anything and don't care about having an opinion, and sometimes they choose purposely not to have an opinion. And so the community organizing, friends over friends thing comes in handy, because sometimes you either need to protest or, as I like to say, reallocate funds towards something that is good for everyone. And so we used to take a lot of, I won't name names in this, but I will say several companies have said, oh, we can't outright support the gay community. We would love to do something. And I'm like, cool, what's the budget? And they're like, oh, 5,000 to 10,000. And I'm just like, great. So I'm just gonna hire trans bartenders. I'm gonna hire drag queens to DJ the events. I'm going to hire the most proud, friendly transport companies. We're gonna have fans about the events. And so, yeah, if you don't want to do a gay event, we can do it in August. We'll do it at the place Pride happens to be. We'll use the entire community and give all the money to them. And so you can use the same kind of lens at a company that's maybe less inclusive or less bold or less courageous, let's go with that, and still get the same outcomes. Other times, what we do is we do partnerships. So you give the money to an organization that can do better than you can, or you kind of organize your own stuff. I'm executive level at this point in my career, so I managed 120 people at Glovo. When at other companies they wouldn't do things, I just used my name and title to open doors. So reach out to a friend who's at L'Oreal, because Paris is very iffy about doing some stuff, but her email address opens lots of doors. So-and-so at L'Oreal.com wants a room for free to use for an event in Paris during Fashion Week. Done. And then I send the invitations out to my group, she sends it to her groups, and then we kind of do our own personal activism using the clout of the titles we have. And so using the privilege against them a little bit.
Yes. Yes. I was going to say, if there's any moment for your fan, now is it. It's so... Oh! That's amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so Jen, my next question is for you. Okay. You talked about this a little bit, so maybe we can get into maybe a little bit more of the, we're talking about, for those wanting to change their career path and maybe do something new or try some new adventures or, you know, a new challenge. What have been some of the biggest challenge or obstacles you faced? But maybe we can talk about enabling factors, because maybe, unless you would like to, but you discussed some of the challenges or obstacles, but maybe something that inspired you to want to make a change and how you found that. Settling into it, and if you want to talk about challenges, maybe like how you overcame them, or how you find your inspiration to change and make change and go for something new. We've talked about this separately on a personal level, but yeah, I'd love to get into that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, there's so many obstacles and challenges, you know, since you know that you became trans, you know, and then you already had that, like, challenges, like everyday challenges, like harassment, you know, verbal, abusive, you know, like just a lot of all names it of discrimination, you know, and it's never stopped, you know, just like, hey, just say the word, you know, just be a man, just be, you know, have those balls, you know, just say it to me, and if you don't want to look, you know, but yeah, at the workspace, you know, the reason I changed the job, like I changed my career, just because of where my previous work, you know, in the past, they just lack of the role models. You know, I don't see in any LGBTQA plus community who work in organization that I used to work, and then I can't. It's just like more about just like being alone, you know, in that position, and then I felt like, who can I talk to? Who is the trans mother, or I don't know, my fellows, like, you know, gay person, you know, and where are they? You know, I want to talk to them, and just like, I don't see, it's invisible, you know. So this is a reason why I thought like, okay, I need to process doing my research, you know, just, you know, see where is community that I can go to, and then just find the people and create connection, you know. That's how I gain like more of the knowledge, and where can I find people, and then we talk, you know. It's important that every company should have like hire more LGBT people, especially in HR. I guess that more feel comfortable for us, you know, for as me, you know, just being there and, you know, answer all the questions by the job interview. Yeah, but yeah, for the obstacle, I think what we can do is just like, you know, find a way to, you know, like communication, talk, sit and talk, and build community, you know, just like we are here, you know, at least we have some time together, like be able to change our perspective and idea, opinion about the work day. Hey, how's it going? How was your day? You know, just like, just being you, you know, and share the story to the world. I mean, your community, such as, yeah.
True that.
That's amazing. Before we go to Q&A, we have two more questions, and I'm kind of leaning towards lumping them together and giving you guys a bunch of questions, and you just tell us, give us a bunch of stories. What do you think? Is that okay? Just roll with it? Okay. You guys ready? So we talked a little bit about pride and making spaces for people, like physical spaces. So kind of continuing our theme for tonight a little bit. How can spaces in general better serve the needs of our entire community? And I mean, we can reflect on pride, but maybe spaces, community spaces or physical spaces, and making them welcoming and safe, and a place where people feel like they can all belong, and maybe what even belonging is or fitting in. And part B is about our responsibility to be role models or to be good leaders, and what that looks like for you and what that has meant in your fields. And I'd like you all to reflect on what that looks like has been in either in your career or in whatever you deem as your community, maybe in your country or in your whatever group is you feel like is in your group. And yeah, maybe how that looks also within the queer community, being role models and being leaders within the queer community, if that's separate? I know that's a lot.
So, in June, I was invited to LGBT plus Tech, one of the organizers is here, and I gave a talk about queer in my career, why being queer is important in my career, because I am a scientist. Because again, it's a male-dominated field, straight, you know, everybody has a family, kids, small kids, and a golden retriever, and these kind of things. I don't have. And you know, I am part of the leadership of the International Society for Computational Biology. It's a worldwide organization, and I sit on the board of directors there. And I represent the non-principal investigators, which is mostly people under 40. And these people come from Cambridge, Oxford, MIT, all these places. And I was discussing with them in June, you know, I feel there's no representation for us. And I don't know any non-straight person in that space, so I feel we are invisible. But we are not. Statistically, we were 2,000 people in July in the conference, so I was like, oh, well, there should be like 800 people who are not straight there. So I was discussing with these people in June, how can I, so community for me is important because first I have to form my opinion. I mean, in order to deliver this message, I need to do it in a very contundent way. So because of being part of these communities, I have had the chance to learn how to speak about these topics, which are the correct words, which are the right ways to convey my message. And then in July, I went there, and you know, it takes courage. So it was like, there's no representation, so I have to be it. I don't want to be a victim, you know, I want to be a changer. So I stopped there, I took courage, and I said, you know what? I am also part of the EDI committee, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And you know, everything is gender, because 10 years ago when we would go to conferences, there were all males, you know, all men speaking. There were no female scientists apparently, what they were not taking into account, but they were not, you know. And 10 years after, it's fine, but we are still discussing gender equity, and what about us? And so I said, you know, I'm part of the EDI. I have asked for the community to make posts for the Pride, to make it inclusive, to put a Pride, a rainbow flag, and I have not been heard. So I'm coming here on top of the committee without their permission to ask that we need to be seen now. I cannot wait anymore. I cannot wait anymore that the LGBT community is seen. So, you know, it's very a dual symbiotic relationship for me. In one side, I take this courage for spaces like this where we can discuss, and then you have to go and fight. And sometimes you're alone, but actually it's not, because I discovered that there's always allies, you know. Nothing can be done without allies. Every fight was done because there were people in the enemy side who joined us and helped us. So I think it's being a role model. It's important because if there are no role models, well, maybe it's your turn to be somebody else's role model in the future. It's hard, but you find a lot of allies and friends in the way. So I think that's it.
I love this answer. I like the idea that you said about not being a victim, being a changer. I think I oftentimes go into a room and I'm the only Black person, and the only African person, and the only person with my particular background. I love looking at rooms, and actually, today it's not happening, right? I think, yeah, I think I went working for 18 years. It took me 12 years to be in a workplace where I had a Black colleague. And this is working in America for the first 10 of those years, which is very weird. And then I never had a Black manager in my entire career. And I've never been at a place where one of the executives has been Black. I've never worked at any organization, nonprofit, et cetera, but there's a Black board member, executive, founder at any history of the entire company. And like, that is the space I work in. And so as, let's say, out of every 1,000 companies, 27 of them have a chief level designer. None of them have ever been Black. A chief, like a chief design officer. Out of every 1,000 companies, 500 have a VP level designer. Only 7 of them have been Black in history. So when you talk about, you know, what it feels like, it's like, woo. Okay, so how gay am I gonna be today? Because I'm gonna be their first Black, their first gay, their first African, their first. And so it's like, ooh, the weight of the entire community, as I say, the culture is on the back, right? And sometimes you have to go in and you're like, I'm not going to be a victim today. I'm not going to morph. I'm not going to hide today. I'm not going to blend in today. I'm going to go be loud and proud, but be myself. Like, I'm not going to go do more than I need to, but I also want to be the person who is extending the hand down the ladder, right? So if there's anybody else, I overly volunteer to be an executive sponsor for people who want to grow in their careers. I specifically target women of color. I specifically target anyone who's in intersectional communities. I talk a bit fast, so. Because I want to make sure that people who have it the hardest, who have the most differences, who have the most visible, especially differences. I wish that more of our events had people who had visible disabilities brought there. I'm on the board for the Best Buddies program. So it's people who help people who have Down syndrome or who have amputated legs from the military. And I wish Pride in workplaces and a ton more spaces were more inviting to them. But imagine it's already not, and that person then being gay, and that person then being Black, and that person then being woman. So that's the person who needs the most help in your organization, right? Like, they're never the executives. In those stats I mentioned, they are zeros for all of them. If you look at the CEOs in the world, probably of a publicly traded company, there are 0 disabled people. Then you add the layers, and then it's just 0, 0, 0 down the board. So I try to get in the door, myself, of course, and then I shout as loud as I can about who else isn't following me inside the door. And I encourage all of you to do the same.
Yeah, like Kevin mentioned about just being accessibility. I guess that of course it has to be everyone. It has to be like in our community that can access to workspace and being happy and comfortable to work with, even with your colleagues, even cisgender as well. So I guess I think everyone is just like have more education, or someone, not everyone, someone who are cisgender also have enough education and enough information that can share, to the people, your colleagues, not just about just the Pride Month, and not just about like diversity, like visibility, but it's every day. It have to be every day, put in the core, and just like remember how grateful we are, right? And how special that we can be, when we are together, as a community.
Jen, can you talk a bit about if you've got a role model?
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, yes, I forgot that, Yes, my role model, I guess back in the day in Thailand, again, we export back to Thailand again. Yes, I have role model when I was younger. I didn't know who I can look up to, I only seen, because my family and the city where I brought up, is not just like in Europe, because in household, very, very traditional, very conservative. You have to be boy or girl, if you are became a transgender or a queer, you cannot accept it. So you cannot do anything else, But when I grew up, time fly. When I moved to the university part, I felt like I'm being me, I feel like I became a little bit of me, but in a growing up past, And then one day I found like one trans mother, and she like a bit older than me. She said like, I know you. You don't need to pretend to be someone else. I know your secret. So just be yourself and shy, And then after that day, I feel like, oh no, I cannot be just hiding myself anymore. I just need to be, learn step further, like step by step, and just become a person who I want to be, And then that's how my role model just going through, and just educated, just being educated and more information, life experience, and learn about how crucial that our society have been suppress us, and discrimination, because I think I grew up in a place where mostly like dangerous for the trans people, If we got 2018, we got killed by 14 transgender kill and murders, on a somewhere, and we are invisible. So I feel like if I want to be a role model to someone, you know, I have to think about like, am I going to be safe? Or are they going to be safe? You know, I just want to make sure that what I do is, you know, is value to everyone and my community as well, you know. And being a leadership, you know, in my part, I feel like it's a big responsible, you know, responsible. And but I still want to do it, you know, just in the future, just to the young people who are next generation, you know, because we lack of support. Even we say we've been support, but we still lack of it. You know, we still lack of education for the young kids. You know, like trans kid who just like, I don't know who I am. How can I grow up in this world and being me? You know, so I guess this is how I learned from my trans mother. Yeah, thank you.
Before we go to Q&As, I'd love for Gonzalo and Kevin to also reflect on your own role models, either in your personal life or professional life, if you feel like it, if you feel like sharing, or maybe an instance where you were a role model to someone else. Again, professionally, personally.
Yeah, I said that there were no role models for me in my profession, but actually the importance of deciding to be the model for others is that you gain visibility and other people who maybe you didn't know can contact you. So I became visible in Twitter, which is, you know, Twitter. Uh, so when I decided to be a role model for others, it's okay, I need to be visible in my full person in Twitter. And then I got contacted by a researcher from the USA. He did his PhD with a Nobel Prize, and he's openly gay since the 80s. And you know, he was in Barcelona. We had a coffee, and I invited over for our office to speak. And you know, it was amazing because we met now in July, and unapologetically, he was giving a talk. I was chairing the session, and there were 2,000 people, and he was giving the last talk. And he was turning 60 that day. And he was like, this person, he showed a picture of a baby. He said, he's turning 60 today. And here is my husband, he said, in front of 2,000 people. And we are proud to be together in this journey. So thanks for joining me today. So it was, well, it takes really courage, you know, to expose yourself in such a way. So I think these kind of people are my role models, people who are not afraid of, you know, it takes courage to jump because you don't know if there's going to be any solid ground, but you do it anyways because it's the right thing to do for you and for others. So I think it's kind of an act of love. It's like planting a tree. Most likely you will not enjoy the shadow of the tree. Other people will do it. So I think it's kind of that. But also I have some role models that are allies. My other role model is a woman, actually. It's a cisgendered British woman in London. But she's so generous, you know. With all the privileges she has, she always tries to give the word to people from unprivileged backgrounds. So I think that's a role model for me. We don't share our identity, LGTB identity, but I share these values, you know. If you have a privilege, share it, give voice to others. So I think those are my models.
I had to think about this one a
If
little
you
bit.
want, we don't have to. We can also just open.
I know I have one, and people might know her, but okay. Did you say Madonna? Is that just... No. Just because the fan is hieroglyphic. No. Okay, so I love Michelle Obama, but no. My Oh, Destiny's no. She jumps too late, you know. So my role model is a woman who goes by the name Bazoma St. John. Her Instagram handle is Badass Boss. She is a Ghanaian American. She's the CMO Hall of Fame of the Year award winner for last year. She's CMO of Netflix, Apple, Sony, several companies. Her and I both do very similar work trying to get Africa to be better, let's go with that word, in terms of how they handle LGBTQ rights, in terms of how they handle the death penalty, in terms of how they handle tourism, in terms of how they handle just being a global power, the desire to be. So she's the cultural ambassador to the president of Ghana, and in her role, she does a lot of work on the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast is what Britain named Ghana, and so every country, yes, dance. Every country in the west coast of Africa was given a name based on what they could use it for it. So Ivory Coast, Gold Coast, and then Liberia was essentially just like, before they changed the name to Liberia, which means liberty and freedom, it was just like cheap people. So it was where they got the cheapest labor. And so the entire region is very, very, let's say, slow to make progress. Ghana is kind of regressing at the moment, trying to bring back the death penalty. Several other countries are as well. She does a ton of work in secret and uses her massive power being the CMO of these very large companies to just like fund money. So if you think about it, at a certain level in media and executive corporate roles, your income is massive, right? Let's say you're getting 250K euros cash, you're getting another million bonus, you manage 15,000 employees, you control where they do events, supply chain, everything. You can suddenly just switch that. Who makes food for the 18,000 employees per day? You can change which company does that. You can change who is the photographer for the day. You can change who does filming. You can change the location of the sets. You can change everything. And that's all hidden work that she does, and she did. And now she does lots of public speaking, consultancy, and this is, to me, the like true power that I think allies can have. So she's not LGBTQ. She does a ton of work for women, for people who are LGBTQ. She does a ton of work for everyone, all the way up the chain. She has a really tragic story that that impacted her, and she's not kind of backed down from it. So cancer has heavily affected her family. Her husband died when her kid was like 2 years old. And then being a woman who was the only Black executive for about 4 years straight in the US, did all this work and got shunned for it, and just kind of picked up the pieces and was like, Sony, you don't love it? Cool, go into Apple. Apple, you're not loving it anymore. The flavor of the day has changed. Go into Netflix. And I think for the most part, all the TV shows and movies you've seen on Netflix that were suddenly just very diverse from different countries were her doing. And so, for many reasons, she is my role model.
Yeah, audience. We have 10 minutes for Q&As if anyone has questions, thoughts, ideas, feelings, jokes.
Can you hear me? Great. So we've talked a lot about work and careers and what it means to be a queer leader, I think, in your workplace. I'm keen to know what you think it means, or how you would define bringing your true self to work. I think, oftentimes queer people don't see themselves in the world, let alone in the workplace, and it's a place where we often don't feel safe or encouraged to bring our true self. So I'm keen to know what you think it means to bring your true self to work, and how you would encourage others to start to bring their true self to work if they don't feel currently able to do so.
So I think it's different for everyone. I think sometimes, maybe 60% of the year, I could blend in as cis, and blend in as not being flamboyant, and I'm wearing a sports outfit, and I'm a tall Black dude, and people are like, oh, he's just one of the brothers, right? And then there's the days when I had a trans girlfriend, and I would bring her to the summer party, the winter party, and everything, and people are like, whoa, wait. Suddenly they see you differently. I think it depends on how much comfort you have. So during Pride, I'm wearing a Pride flag, and maybe I'm wearing heels for one day, even though it's not my thing, because I can, just because like I want to shove it in their face sometimes. And then other days it's me being the one in the room being, hey, during all of our research, all of our surveys, we ask people if they have kids and if they are this and they are that. We never ask their orientation. You never know if they have a partner. You're not actually catching great data. And so then I make them collect it and put it in part of the company's policies, part of the company, let's say, procedures. So showing up at work, and oftentimes has to do with communication, but you can be verbal, it can be nonverbal. I think it's just choosing the right moments for what you feel comfortable with. And if people who are more comfortable than you can go make little networks and make them do stuff for you. Because like, I'm always that person who's more than willing to ring the alarm if you don't want to.
So I'm starting again. Terrific talk. My question goes mainly to Gonzalo. I think I'm probably the only one born in Barcelona in the audience. Not only, but probably. I work in a biomedical research center here in Barcelona, and I'm also part of an association that Gonzalo knows, which is Prisma, that we work with LGTB in science. And for me, it's not only making science or research center a welcoming place for LGBT community. There's also an important work to do in the way we explain science on the world. Because normally the world has been explained by white, cis people. There's thousands of examples, for example, in prostate cancer, that nobody thought about gay men having prostate. Or with women, or with African people, for example, in diseases. There's been reports in apps designed for melanoma, and nobody thought about skin from African people, that they don't work in Black people. So I think it's not only a role to make, of course, research and science a welcoming place, but also in the way we explain the world. And we did a study, for example, in the Ministry of Science in Spain, there's 0 studies of research on lesbian health. 0 studies. Nobody, the government of Spain hasn't funded any study studying the specific problems that lesbians may have, etc. So I think there's a lot of work there to be done. I don't know your experience and your perspective on that.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, it's very important because of many things. For example, having gay people or LGBT people in science has made a lot of studies possible. For example, a very famous study that came out like a couple of years ago is that there's no gene for homosexuality. It's a very complex genetic interaction. There are many genes involved, but also the environment. I mean, it was a huge study that was made on twins, for example, one straight, one not straight. And this is because the authors were non-straight themselves. And then having LGBT people in the leadership positions in institutions. I mean, I'm very happy you came because I extended the invitation to the Prisma people. I don't know if you received it or what. But for example, it's documented that people who are in the closet, they are less productive because being in the closet drains your energy. It's exhausting in terms of trying to hide who you are. You know, am I moving my hand too much? Or I don't want my ringtone about Britney Spears to be in the middle of a meeting, you know? You know, oh, I forgot my eyeliner from yesterday. So, but people don't come out if they don't see signs of safeness. No? So, for example, when I came to the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, I was really impressed that there was no mention to anything about gender or sexual identity. I come from Germany, where a person transitioned in the middle of a PhD. So the entire institution became aware and changed to accompany this person, and it's very open right now. So you have the rainbow flags everywhere. In every door there's a sticker, you know, there's signs like there's no harassment. If you tell somebody it's harassing you, there's almost no questions. These people is fired, you know? So here in collaboration with Prisma, we imposed the creation of a queer group, and it was really amazing because it's Barcelona's supercomputing center. We created a queer group, and I'm amazed we are not a non-representative sample of society. We made a survey, and we have 9% of non-straight people in the institute. So, you know, being part of the community and active, it's important both for the knowledge you generate, because you take into account different paradigms, but also for other people to become welcome in the workspace.
Hello. So I'd just like to ask a general question here for everybody. I think that we want change in workplaces. What we don't do is we don't show our economic power. I think if we show economic power and we boycott companies that don't do they do the pink washing once a month, Lufthansa, They had the logo for the month of June. They take it down 1st of July. We need to show economic power. If we show economic power, we force countries to make change. And I think that's where we're going wrong as a community. I don't know what people think, but economic power is what we need to show.
I just wanted to really quick jump on that. So I ran an ethical fashion business for a long time, and that was its purpose. There's this concept of voting with your wallet, and that by everything that we choose to buy and consume, that is a tacit approval of the way in which that company conducts itself. So like since then, it's like there's not a single piece of anything tested on animals or that's gone anywhere near animal testing in my house since I was like a teenager, and that's like a thing. So I think there is so much power that an individual can have, and just a small lifestyle change can just be a simple way of saying no thanks to those values. And yeah, pink washing, rainbow washing is a big part of that, but I think it's also in showing up constantly during the year, and that's also what I wanted to reflect on, is that I feel like people only comment on rainbow washing during Pride, and then they don't talk about it in the other months of the year, and we all as a community need to be doing that like constantly. So I just want, sorry, I know I'm not, like, I just want to.
All voices are included here. No, I have a particular passion on this topic for two reasons. One, because what you said, people react mostly instead of being proactive. All the financial decisions companies make for June happen in January. If you want a company to change what they do for the rest of the year, especially their calendar, marketing, advertising dollars, events, logo changes for LinkedIn for 34 days, there's actually a countdown on LinkedIn, which you can change it and it goes off automatically. Like companies are building software based on behaviors, right? So if you want the behaviors to change it when they're paying for it. So I say like the protest happening in July, when they take it down July 1st, doesn't really as much impact them because they're like, better next time. That person probably will leave that job before, they get their bonus in December, they quit, and then you have to hire a new person. So do it in January when the person actually who is in the role is actually there. Second, these companies are only doing it because they get away with it. If we seem happy, if we're liking all the posts in June and we suddenly start buying more things in June, they are gonna react. It's like Black Friday for gay people, right? So they're gonna roll that as long as they can roll it. If people suddenly stop behaving that way in July, they're like, all right, July comes down. So I think similar to what you're seeing happen with the unions right now on acting and directing and writing and producing, it needs to be a concerted effort across a very specific area. So let's say we want the airlines to be more inclusive. You need to essentially stop buying tickets from certain groups, right? We know for a fact that they're all tied to the same money. Vueling is owned by Iberia, Iberia is owned by British Airways and the financial institution that bought British Airways. It's actually very simple to avoid them. Just don't buy any Avios. So anytime there is an airline group that uses their financial dollars, you essentially go with their competitor. That's much harder to say when all these tickets are like $400. Let's go with something simple, the food you eat. And I'm very close to this being my role at Volvo. There's a lot of really hateful, very active anti-LGBTQ food groups. And I will never pick on any one country and say the whole country is like this, but a lot of Italian pasta makers spend billions of dollars per year actively fighting the laws in their country and for the entire EU. And when they get a turn to be the chair of a committee, right now Spain is the chair of the Labor Committee for the EU, they try to impose whatever they think is correct in their country on the entire bloc. So right now you're seeing Spain push massive law changes on what is a writer. I'm very personally supportive of everyone who was a writer in the entire EU getting rights, healthcare, benefits, damage, liability. There's no mention of anything special for gay people in these laws. So we had a whole issue. We're like, hey, when you sign up a writer, just as an example, and you don't ask their gender, and you don't ask their sexual orientation or anything, the entire app is like, hey, your writer is coming. He's on his way. Even if it's a woman, even if they're trans, it doesn't matter. There's no law given any protections for trans people for labor rights. All these things are missing. So as they're now the head of the council, and I live in Spain, I now complain directly to Spain because I know that they temporarily have all the power. So I think we really need to tie the outcomes to who are the specific one or two people who are signing off on these things in the moments before they sign off on them, not just as a reaction to when those decisions come out.
Hi, Sanjukta. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. You've been such a great panel. Thank you so much for your time. So my question is related to DEI departments within companies, because I've noticed that in the US especially, I've heard about like series of layoffs or like DEI departments being shut down. And so my question is more like, do you think that this trend like is going to come here to Europe, and how do you think that this is currently affecting like the LGBTQIA plus community in the US and here in Europe? Thank you.
I have a very quick comment, and anyone else, please. So the DEI world, the ERG world are very closely overlapped. I do a lot of work in this space. I think it's terrible what's happening right now. It's almost happening widespread in America. It's very weird. So for context, every DEI officer, every HR/ head of diversity and inclusion for 90% of companies has resigned in the last 2 years or been told to leave. Almost every Hollywood organization has removed their person. Most of the Fortune 500, which are the 500 most valuable companies in the US, have suddenly not replaced any of these roles. It's very suspicious. There's now all these articles you'll see on LinkedIn where it's like, is DEI dead? Is EDI no longer a priority? And I think this is a perfect time for us to react to something that we didn't cause or ask for, right? So they did a thing they thought we wanted. They saw some economic benefit. And now when they stop doing it, we're not going to police them and hold them accountable and say, hey, this is an important thing for me to take a job here. Do you have diverse talent? Do women get promotion to leadership? Are any of the people in the company not white Catalan men? These are the kind of things that you need to react to immediately if you want them to not be seen as okay. And I think oftentimes things negatively happen. Sometimes we're exhausted, sometimes it's too much, and we just ignore the news or we turn it off. But I think these are the things that I wish got to the GoFundMes, got the survey, got the petitions, got the headlines of the grassroots activity, because the second you do it and it's loud, it stops, right? Because there's one negative example of a company falling for making that mistake, we will never be that company. And I think if you have to do it just one time very well, everyone falls in line. So this is my opinion.
Okay, can I just check? Are there any women or non-binary people that would like to ask a question? Because we do get men often putting their hand up first, and yes, this is something. Here we go.
Yeah, you're done.
Hi, I guess I'm gonna be the non-binary person making a question. But what do you do when you don't have you're the person I'm gonna be looking at, and I wish I could be you, but I'm not. And I don't have any network, I don't have a big company. I'm always the only one LGBTQ person, usually. And dare to say I am non-binary, that's probably a fuck up. And I don't want to get fired. So what am I gonna do? What's my baby step to be more like you?
Wow, that's really brave question. I guess it's the principle of just being you is start to understanding yourself first in a big, how do you feel? How do you want to project, to the world? And I guess it's just, I know it not just take a 1 day prize. It's just more like, you keep learning about yourself and then be courage, and also speak up and also share this story to your friend, your family who are accepting you. And then, I think this is how you start in the beginning of your journey. Of course, I've been there, a situation that I cannot come out. I feel really, really like so sad inside in the person who I am. And it's just like difficult to just say like, hey, I'm trans. Hey, I'm trans. I cannot put the label, on myself. But society already part of it. Society is part of like, labeling people, like, hey, you just who you are. You just being this person. You are trans. You're non-binary. Go for it. People like, kind of, people just put that you are not deserve to be here. You need to be just. We are, like a cisgender, okay. But for you, I feel like it start from like conversation, with your best friend, your family, and then you have community here, So this is the first step for you to just jump in a community and share your story. I think that's a principle of learning about yourself. Thank you.
Low. Okay. I would just add that you don't owe your workplace anything to come out. And yeah, I would start by perhaps finding a community initiative that you're kind of passionate about. And that's a great way to, dedicate your energy, because sometimes it can be a lot of wasted energy, trying to be that one person. And yeah, I'm sure that kind of, through that, you'll kind of not only build a network, but you'll hopefully build some more skills as well, that when it comes to it, there will be kind of an even bigger impact at the end of it. So yeah, keep going.
Hi everyone, my name is Raz. Pronouns are he, him, like Razmatas without the matas. Nice to meet you everyone. Thank you so much for setting up my questions perfectly. It was more towards exactly what you said. So we all go through the coming out phase, and if you haven't come out, it's your own narrative. You don't owe this to anyone. But then you go to work, and there's this skill-based environment where everyone's like, oh yeah, you're gonna be judged by your skills, which has become a discriminatory method towards people like us, where the companies say you're just going to be judged by skills, which are sometimes closing who you really are, because we're judged by skills and somehow blocking our identity. And then you have people which have to have, just like Jesus, a second coming out at work. How do we, and this is exactly what he said, how do we, people that are out and proud and about, pave the way for people that are not confident enough to be out in a work environment where they've been told you'll be judged by skills, so closet everything you are, because what you do or what you push to work is only what we do. And it's not about us being proud or us being that. How do we pave the way for people that are silenced in work? And I think that, thank you so much for paving the question towards this.
I can answer that. One of the responsibilities we have from being from this side of being out and proud or whatever and loud, it's exactly to make it easier to others, because you don't want other people to go through the same struggles you went through when you were in that fucking closet, right? Sorry. And, last year in September, I am a binary person, so I'm not a non-binary person. But that doesn't mean that I cannot fight for non-binary people. So I think the important thing is, if you are still in that side where you are still, trying to do your baby steps, is to find your reference or find people who are fighting for you, because we are all in our places, and try to get into conversations with them to see how they can help. So last year in September, I was in a conference here in Sitges, and I was chairing a session about gender. And, we were given statistics about how many male, female people there were, the prices, the speakers, or whatever. And then suddenly a person almost in tears says, can you stop? Because I'm not represented here. I'm a non-binary person. This person came out in the middle of a room like this. It was bigger and fuller. So it was kind of really a desperate scream for help. And that made me see so clear that even when maybe it's not my fight, because it doesn't affect me directly, it affects people around me. So it's a dual thing. You have to fight for yourself first. You have to feel safe. But once you have reached a level of security and safety, you have to start looking for others, because that's just fair, because other people fought for us. And I think it's this equilibrium, because you have to feel safe to come out, right? I mean, that's a privilege. I will be out when I'm safe. That's a privilege, because if we think about our community who started to fight for us in the USS, in the Wellstone Inn, were the Black trans people, because they didn't have any degree of freedom to go back anymore. They were just against a wall, and they were being attacked. So the only thing you can do in that moment is to fight back. So that people have to fight for themselves. Then us, we have the privilege to say, today I'm going to be blended. But it's just that, it's this equilibrium. Fight or find people who will fight for you. There's no other option for me.
Okay, we have run out of time, unfortunately. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you once again to all of our speakers for sharing part of your story, for sharing your experience, your wisdom, and for being here so vulnerably tonight. So just can we get another round of applause?